very gracious, and he knew that these things happen. But so many memories.
Oh, it sounds. I mean, I grew up on the Muppets myself. I was born in '75, so I think it must have been a rerun by the time. Well, no, I think probably the original, because I loved them when I was a toddler as well. So I was obviously just getting into them then, and
they were still running them during the final season during 1980, and then they ran them again, I think, too.
Yeah, and I can, so I grew up on the Muppets, so it's just, I can just imagine how much fun you had, because it's you just look at them on the screen, it's like, Piggy, you need it on set, Piggy. It's my bad Kermit voice.
No, that was
just
great.
Wait till you get my Yoda.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, just wait till you get to the Yoda one later. Again, because you've been in that sort of arena for such a long time, what kind of advances, I mean, how much change have you seen in 30 years of working in that industry? Because obviously you've got CGI and everything now, but the Muppets have tried to stay true to what they originally have. So how's that sort of changed over the years?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's for me, it's been 36 years now. So
wow.
I think the biggest change was, we sort of saw, especially in the film industry, we saw a sort of a swing away, a trend towards computer animation, and everyone thought, it's over, the game's up, we're done, there's no more puppets anymore, they're washed up, nobody wants to see them anymore. And that was sort of certainly a fear that a lot of people had, both performers and fans alike, for that matter. But it never truly went away. And I always said, puppets have been around for thousands of years. They're never going completely away. And I just knew that there would be a swing back at some point. Now, I got into animation, obviously, but as an extension of performing. But and I knew that computers were going to be a part of puppetry anyway. And Jim Henson knew that, too, with all his CG puppetry stuff that he was developing.
Yeah.
So the industry did change. It kind of went digital, and we thought, okay, we're not going to see film anymore, and there's going to be less puppets, less hand puppets. There wasn't any real Muppet stuff for several years, to be honest. For many years, there was very little of anything like that. There were less commercial work and less film, less TV, and that kind of thing. So that sort of changed a lot. But then when it all kind of came back in the last several years, the basic puppet stuff hadn't changed at all. Everything was just as it was in the 1970s. The Muppet things, the techniques are exactly the same.
Right.
But now we have the joy of, if they want, like on the last Muppet series last year from ABC, they could paint out arm rods. We didn't have to worry about big, thick, giant arm rods.
Right, okay.
Now,
of course,
now that the screens are bigger, more. We have high def and much more detail. They kind of become more obvious than they used to be in blurry old tube cameras. With the low res and stuff. But every rod was removed on a television show, and if we got a head-in shot, they could remove that. We did some crazy wide shots, special effect shots, where there were several puppeteers in the frame,
right?
And they'd use camera control, computer control cameras, and they removed us all. I just don't know how they did that stuff, but it was we had Miss Piggy dancing on, being lifted up by these guys. On their shoulders and put down, and there were 3 puppeteers behind her, and full length. And when we were shooting that, I thought, there's no way these guys can remove puppeteers behind all these flailing arms and dancers, but they did.
Wow.
And it looked great, all being puppeteered. I mean, so the technology has definitely come a long way to where what would have once been the one magical, hugely expensive special effects shot in, say, for example, something like the Muppet Christmas Carol, It's like everything was costing so much money. That was the early days of the digital effects in a film, I think the Mill and those companies were doing a lot back then. 90s, mid-90s, I guess. But they were hugely expensive. Now, you can do it on almost every shot in a TV show as long as it's built in, It's amazing. So, and also a big thing that I noticed was lighting had totally changed. Back in the day, we used to have to use so much, the cameras were less sensitive, so we'd have to use much more lights, much brighter lights, hotter lights, and just more of them, more direct lighting. Now, it's like a totally different thing. There's LEDs, there's fluorescent tubes, they're all cool lights. They're a lot softer, a lot more subtle. They use a lot more diffused and reflected lights now, and this goes for film and television. They've kind of merged now, which is really interesting. Film and television there's really not much other than maybe the scale of the production of the unit itself, and maybe the amount of time you get to shoot stuff. The lines are blurred so much now. There's not really any real difference between shooting on film, shooting a movie and shooting a TV show. Now, on The Force Awakens, of course, JJ brought back shooting on film for that, which was incredible. And I thought we'd never see film again. And there they were with the film magazines and checking the gate and loading up the cameras. It was an amazing thing to see. But otherwise, everything else was. The film stock itself is more sensitive. They had, I think JJ had some special lenses made as well for that movie, which was incredible. So, but it means they can now use much more subtle lighting as well, which is really terrific. So I think the art form itself, the medium has evolved to where it can be a lot more subtle now.
Yeah.
We've gone past the look at me, I'm a special effect, woohoo, and now stuff's just like a set extension or and all the subtleties they can get now with the color timing on the images to get a mood or whatever, or just bring out one little part of a shadow, and it's I think we have a lot more colors to paint with our brush now than we did back when I started. So things have changed for the better, that's for sure. And now, anyone with a small home kit can actually make something quite decent, to be honest, in a small space now. You can make something professional for relatively little money. Couldn't do that 30 odd years ago.
No, you need a vast amount of money and a vast amount of space.
And a vast amount of stupidity. But now you don't need that much stupidity at all to do something very good, which is great.
That's one huge side of your career has been in that area, and that kind of introduced you, from what I understand, into the Return of the Jedi, because you're obviously most famously in Return of the Jedi known as, I'd call him Nien Nunb, but you said he was Nien Nunb. So is there a preference on that one? Just quickly, before I go into the question, is there a preference on how you say the name?
Yeah, it doesn't matter, because it looks weird, and how is anyone going to know how his name is said when it's never actually mentioned in any of the films ever? So, I definitely cut everyone some slack. But my inside info is originally he was a background chorus girl. Basically he was a chorus line alien. Yeah. And he wasn't a principal character or anything like that. He didn't have any dialogue, and he was one of maybe 20 different masks, something like that, and creatures. And some of them had few sort of names in Jabba's palace, which they sort of adapted and changed later for the toys. They changed the spelling. Elephant Man then became Ephon Mon, and Banana Woman became Banan Nam or something like that kind of stuff. But he didn't have a name, and there was. I still have the sheet of paper. There was a list, and he was not literally number 9, and for his name they just wrote number 9.
Right, okay.
And then when he became an actual character that George plucked out later, about halfway through shooting the film, he wanted Nien Nunb to be the co-pilot for Lando. I guess they haven't figured out what to do yet for that. Yeah. They just knew, oh, wait, Chewie's not there, we need someone else. Okay, who are we going to use? So I think it was kind of a last-minute thing. George liked the look of him the most, I guess, so he thought, okay, let's use him. So then he became... Nien Nunb. At that point, I think he probably was still spelled Ninenumb. So, at least he had a character name. And then I think by the time the toys came out, then they changed the spelling again to Nien and then Nunb. But he was always Nien Nunb because he was number 9.
All right, okay. There you have it, people. It's Nien Nunb. I've been correct after all these years.
Indeed. Well, we had to tell JJ and everyone else, like no one quite knew, and they're all, he's like got 20 different pronunciations.
Oh, so, well, good. If you had to tell JJ, then I'm in good company.
Oh, absolutely.
In Return of the Jedi as well, you did multiple roles. I mean, you actually puppeteered. Was it Jabba's eyes?
When he was being strangled, and then there's a close up on his tail, which is shaking like crazy, and that was like a beanbag tail that they made specially for that shot on second unit. That was filmed like a month later or something, stuff like that. But when you're a puppeteer, though, you see, not only are you cheap, but you can do a lot of different parts at the same time under the same contract. So absolutely, I got to be a baby Ewok and helped him with Snootles and Admiral Ackbar.
That's right.
And all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, you also got to help Frank Oz, didn't? Did you get to help Frank Oz with Yoda?
Exactly. Yeah, he had that of course that scene coming up, and he was used to working with me on he knew I'd assisted him with Fozzie doing the right hand, so it was exactly the same thing basically. I was small. I knew how to keep out of the way and keep my hand up without pulling him down, and knew how to just perform certain things just right. So he was totally comfortable with choosing me for Yoda, which was certainly a big thrill, being such a fan of Yoda in Empire Strikes Back. I mean, I was a huge fan of Yoda. So to be a part of that was where it's just basically Mark Hamill and Frank Oz, essentially, to be around that environment for a few days was just lovely. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Very special.
Yeah, I can imagine. Do or do not. There is no try. I knew I had to do that. So I had to do that for you then. It's the only chance I'm going to get to do it to someone who was actually in the movie.
No. Never say never. Never say never. I say no. But yes, anything is possible, and that's the wonderful thing about this life. You know.
Yeah. You go as long as if you put yourself out and work hard, I think you can do anything you want to be. I'm not sure how much I really believe in luck and talent. There might be some elements there, but what that means, I really don't know. I think talent is years of hard work and dedication. Exactly.
And luck is kind of making your own luck. Lining yourself, at the right time. I mean, there are certain things that you can't understand, like how did this happen at that time and that sort of thing, coincidences. So there are things we can't explain, but that's, I guess, a conversation for another day. How does the universe line these things up for us?
Exactly. That is a whole evening.
And what is destiny, and what is your own destiny that you create and that you make yourself? How much are we in charge and in control of that or not? So it's kind of interesting.
Oh yes, definitely.
But I do think we have a lot more power and control than we give ourselves credit for, actually. And I think we're our own worst enemies as humans and as individuals.
Definitely. There's some great examples. I mean, again, we'll be here all night, or all day for you. But it would be, there are some great examples where people have just overcome that and proved that you make your own luck. You can make your own destiny. It's just how much effort you want to put in to do so.
How much you're willing to do that, and how much you're prepared to work and sacrifice. And I think part of the secret though is to have a passion. So if you're really passionate about something and you really care about it and it makes you happy, then as much as you can without hurting anyone else. Then kind of follow that. Try and be true to that. And things change as the years go on, and you just change your passions as you go. But I think you can't go wrong. I mean, you're doing this right now here with me because this is a passion of yours, right?
Correct. Yeah, definitely.
And you made it happen because of that. So it makes you happy. Not only that, but good usually creates good also. It's in terms of energy, you've created this event, this environment of podcasts and things, and you have all these subscribers now and people that listen to it, so it does ripple out into the universe. To get a little bit hippie about it, but I think it's it's a creative thing that you're doing, and it shares out sort of infinitely. It's a great thing.
Thank you. Oh, that's really nice. Thanks. I appreciate that. But it's true. I was saying, I'm not blowing my own trumpet here, but you are right. It's a passion. I think that's what has kept me going. So I've been doing this a year now, but and like yourself for 36 years being a puppeteer, it's your passion for it, and I think that's definitely that's what you need behind you. It's passion. If you're passionate for something, then you can make whatever you want to do work for you.
Absolutely, yeah. You can get through the pain if a puppet's hurting or your back's hurting. It doesn't matter because you're having such a good time. The day that you cease to enjoy it and say, I'm done with this, I hate this,